Konnichiwa, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back for another video. In today's video, I'm gonna show how to make gyoza. Things like gyoza are basically in every culture. For example, Italians have ravioli, Russians have pelmeni, Kazakhs, they have mans, and Japanese, they have gyoza. If you would like to make what you just saw, then here's what you'll need. Let's start with the ingredients. You'll need flour, about 250 grams, one half of a cup of regular water, and a touch of salt. This is going to be needed so that you can make the gyoza wrappers. It's not easy, I'll show you how to make it. You can go ahead and use the already pre-made ones, you can buy them at a store, but I would like to make this a full recipe, therefore we're making these at home by ourselves. Now for the filling, you'll need, I got clean pork, about 350 grams or 400 grams. You'll also need about 100 grams of diced, very finely diced onions. Probably white onions are better than red onions, but go ahead and use red if you want. Then some green onions, also known as scallions, some ginger, and some garlic. You will also need 2 shiitake mushrooms. Not necessarily, but they will make your gyoza superior to everything else that you've tried. Now, you'll also need, for seasoning, you'll need, I got some cooking wine here, as well as some sesame oil and soy sauce. This is going to be needed to season, as well as some salt and pepper. You will also need, in order to cook them, you first fry them, which is where you use the oil. As usual, canola, sunflower, vegetable, whatever you like. As well as after you give them a nice crispy outside, you cook them by steaming. So you pour some water, about 1/4 cup. This amount is needed for one batch of gyoza. Now, first thing, we're gonna start by marinating our meat. So we add our onions, our green onions, our ginger, and our garlic. Now, I didn't cut the mushrooms yet, but you probably want to make them very small as you can. If you don't know how to work with shiitake mushrooms, because usually you buy them only in a dry condition, like in a dry form, what you do is, it basically says on the package, but I'll just reiterate it. You take the mushrooms, 2 in this case, and then you just soak them in water for like half an hour or so. Half an hour to an hour. And that's it, and then you just dice them. And we add our mushrooms in. Now we season our meat. So our sesame oil, our cooking wine, as well as our soy sauce. This is all done to taste, but if you don't feel like experimenting or you're not really good at eyeballing things, then just use the amounts that I've listed beforehand. Now some pepper, again to taste, but I'm gonna do like half of a teaspoon, and the same amount of salt. Keep in mind that we used soy sauce, therefore you want to be careful with salt. And you just give it a mix now. Give it a mix now. If you're one of those people who really doesn't feel like touching food with their hands, then use a glove or a spoon. But if you really feel like giving this one a nice mix, because you should, then you should use your hands. Now look, the filling is done. You set it aside to marinate for at least half an hour to an hour. If you're not really good with working with dough like I am, then you just leave it for as long as it's going to take you to make the dough. If you're good with dough, then just leave it for at least half an hour. Now look, while the meat is being marinated, we're going to start working with the dough. So 240 or so grams of flour and about half of a cup of water. Put it in. And some salt. I'm gonna do like 1/4 of a teaspoon. And now we mix it. Okay, so here's what you get in the end. Your dough should not be too hard, like not a brick, right? But at the same time, it should not be super sticky to your hands. It should be such that it easily falls from your hands, but at the same time, you can sort of like squeeze it in, you know, and then it keeps the form. Anyways, take it out of the bowl, but first you dust your cutting board. And also, you'll need a rolling pin for this thing because we're gonna roll our little gyoza wrappers. So take it out and cut it in half. Now we roll it into a sausage like this. And meanwhile, I'm gonna tell you a story of gyoza. Everybody knows, well, not everybody, but most of you guys probably heard about gyoza. And you think that it's a Japanese dish. In fact, it's not. It came over from China, just like sushi did. And a lot of people don't know that. They think that, yeah, Japanese made sushi, but no, it was actually the Chinese that created sushi. Gyoza, the name gyoza, it's also taken from the Chinese version of this recipe, of this dish, which is, I don't know how to pronounce it. Here's how it's gonna be called, the spelling of it. And gyoza came to Japan itself at the times of World War II. Fun fact, hey? It's not an ancient Japanese recipe, it in fact comes from China. So you should get something like this. And now we cut it into half first. And then divide each one into into 6 pieces. This is something like my previous recipe of making gnocchi right here. It reminds me of making those, but not quite the same thing. Now, you separate them onto a plate, and we're gonna work with one of them at a time. Dust your cutting board again, and now we create a little bowl of each of these pieces. Now that, and then you take a rolling pin, make sure you dust it too, so that it doesn't stick to your bowl. And we start rolling it. So coming back to the question of the origin of gyoza, in China there used to be a doctor or a monk who created what he did is he cooked the lamb, and then he mixed it with some medicine and some herbs, and then he cooked them in wrappers like these, and then he stuck them to the ear, which basically treated the problems with ears. Anyways, now that you get this, it doesn't look like a round thing yet, but what you do is you take a glass, then you put it on your wrapper or wrapper to be. And then you just whirl it like this. And what it does is it makes your nice little dough wrappers. The rest, you can combine all these leftovers and then you can make them into other bowls and just make more wrappers. Let me show you again how to do it. So you take a piece, you dust the cutting board quite well. Put the piece on there, dust your rolling pin. Then you take your piece of dough and you roll it into a ball like this. Then you start by pressing on it until you get something like this, and then you start working with your rolling pin. I'll tell you what, the hardest part in this whole recipe is not the cooking, it's the cleaning. Because whenever you're working with flour, if you're like me, your entire house is just gonna look like you're a freaking cocaine dealer or something. Like, it's just all covered in flour. Anyways, so after you work with your rolling pin, you should get something like this. And then you grab a cup, you dust it in flour, then you try and fit it to size. If it doesn't fit, then you should roll it for a bit more until you get it to the right size. And then you just press on the cup and twist it. There you go. The leftovers just come off. You can use these to make some more of these wrappers. And now you just have a wrapper like this. Now that you've finished both parts, the meat, which was marinated for, in my case, 2 hours, and then the wrappers, now we're gonna combine the two, so we're gonna fill the wrappers. Here's how you do it. See, I've already done a few because I didn't feel like failing on camera because it was my first time wrapping them, but it turned out easier than I expected. So here's what you need. You'll need 2 containers with water. One is going to be used to dip a spoon so that you can easily put your filling into your wrappers. The other one is going to be used for your hands. So we take one wrapper, we take a spoon, dip it into one of the cups, and take the meat, put it on your wrapper. Now you dip your finger into the other water and then you go on the edges. This is needed so that your sides can stick well together. Now, you bring one side over to the other, like this, and stick it in the middle. And then the sides, here and here, you do this. You fold it like that, and you stick it. You fold it like that, and you stick it. Like that. About 3 or 4 times, doesn't matter. And then do the same on the other side. And boom, there it is. That was easy, right? So now let's start cooking our gyoza. So I've got my pan here to a high temperature. It's been heating for like 20 seconds. Now I add some oil, like 2 tablespoons probably. Yeah, that's good. Wait a few seconds to warm it up. And now I put my gyoza in. The unfolded side in first. This one doesn't actually fry, only the unfolded side. Meanwhile, let me tell you something quite important. Most likely you're not gonna eat the entire amount of gyoza made from this recipe, so don't leave them outside the fridge. You wanna keep them in the fridge. This is important because if you don't, then it's just gonna become something quite disgusting and impossible to cook. You want to fry them for about 3 minutes. We're not trying to cook them by frying. All we're trying to do is just crust them. We're gonna cook them by steaming, by using water and a lid. So you would get something like this, then you can flip it to the other side, but not the folded side. We're not frying the folded side, only the other two. And now you pour the water in and start steaming it. So after the water has evaporated, your gyoza should be done. Let's plate them. And this is the result that I got. Here I got a sauce which I made from just some fish sauce, some soy sauce, some sesame oil, and that's it. But you can go ahead and use any sauce that you would like, or just soy sauce straight up. This is the result again. It does take quite a bit of time, but in the end this is really worth it. And especially if you like cooking, this is, you know, like crafting with your own hands, quite fun. I really enjoyed it. So thanks for watching, you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. I really hope that you learned something. And please leave a comment if you would like a specific recipe made by me. And also don't forget to put your likes or dislikes if you don't like the video. I mean, I tried my best. So again, all of this will help my channel to grow, and then I can make more video for you guys. More fancy video or simpler video or anything you want. So again, thanks for watching. Enjoy.